Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Playday of ESA Season X. I'm McCready. Joining me today is Travi. We have such an exciting lineup coming up for us today. We have LDL Valour going up against Ghost Army to decide which of these two teams is going to find themselves in the upper bracket final and the first team to find themselves to do so. A very exciting time because these teams have gone up against each other a number of times quite recently, haven't they, Travi?
Oh, they certainly have here. We start off, of course, recently in ESA here itself, back in Swiss stage. The only game that Valour themselves lost in Swiss stage was to Ghost Army. Now, that one was an insanely quick 2-0 one there. As you can see, oh, look, here we go. We have the bracket for, of course,
Yeah.
our Swiss stage. And as you can see, LDL, they did lose against Ghost Army right up there, tippy top of your screen for the third round in. That one was a 2-0, as I said. It was insanely quick, actually. 7-1, 7-3. So Ghost Army dominated that game through and through, and they qualified off there. LDL, however, they recovered, they got back in through the next hurdle, and they've made their way in towards playoffs and off to a great start so far.
Yeah, they've done themselves pretty good. They've beat out MG Minions very comfortably yesterday. Not yesterday, the last couple of days, in the last play day of last week. So they found themselves going up for that rematch. Now, the bracket explains a few things. It doesn't explain everything, though. The last game that you could see on the bracket in ESA Cup against each other, yes, like you say, was a 2-0 in favor of Ghost Army. A 7-1, 7-3. Very confident, very comfortable. These teams have recently played each other since then in other leagues as well, though, and that has been a bit of a different story. I think in one of the other leagues, it actually went in favor of LDL Valour. They were able to beat them out, and it meant that even on some of the maps that we're going to find ourselves on today, or at least one of them, we might see a bit more of a balanced game than you might expect just looking at this bracket. Travi, one thing I want to bring up is maps. Now, these teams have very confident, a very regular, repeated set of maps that come up, and I think we're not going to really see much difference out of them, are we?
No, not at all. I mean, one thing that really does pique my curiosity is you look at Valour, not just between these two teams, but just generally as a whole. They don't like to play Chalet very much. It's one of their perma bans. They very, very rarely
Mm.
play it. However, they played it the other day. They're playing it here yet again. It's a map that I think they've been hiding perhaps for a little while, slowly becoming a little bit more comfortable on it. And yeah, for the side of Valour, it's the two starting maps that they played the other day against me. Chalet going into a Nighthaven Labs. However, where things differ is that final map pick, of course, the decider. That is going to be Border. Should we get there? We've not been treated to a free mapper in playoffs yet, but I don't know about you, McCready. I've got a feeling this one could be the one that delivers.
I mean, the way these two teams have been seems quite balanced, quite evenly matched. So I feel like it depends on the day on which way it's going to go. So yeah, there genuinely is a really good opportunity for us to see that third map. Like you say, we haven't seen it so far. Hopefully, this would be the way that would change that around. But like I say, Chalet being brought out, these teams have played each other on this map before. But like you say, LDL Valor, they tend to shy away from it. Maybe picking that up, it might just be Ghost Army saying, right, we need to kind of take it by the horns, put you on the back foot. If they're able to do that, then I feel like it would be really good. It'd be really strong, put them in a good stead. But like you say, though, LDL Valor, they might not be worried about that. They might not be stressed about bringing it out. They might have been waiting for exactly this moment. We are going to be starting things off, though. Chalet is our first map of this possible three maps that we can see. Travi, operator bands, what are we expecting?
Oh, operator bands. Well, of course, I think it's safe to say we're going to be getting rid of the Blackbeard here. I'm looking at the history between these two teams. A Blackbeard is quite a common band coming out from Valour. For Ghost
Yeah.
Army, they like to get rid of the Deimos or the Dokkaebi, the only attacking bands they have brought out in recent history against this side of LDL Valour. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it's going to be one of those two coming on through here for this first attacking ban. And of course, it's not going to be either of the Dokkaebi or the Deimos. Instead, it's going to be the Blackbeard.
Yeah, but the Blackbeard makes a lot of sense anyway. I mean, the same reason you expect LDL Valor to ban it out. I mean, it's got the shield, it's got the gun, it's got the frag grenade. What more does it have? Well, on Chalet, it's got nothing because it's been taken off the board. Who's going to be joining them on that attacking side in from the ban screen? Yeah, that's going to be the Blitz. A very similar operator. I mean, there's a lot of passion, a lot of aggression behind these two attacking operators that I feel like Ghost Army and LDL, they just don't want to deal with. They don't want to deal with aggression. They don't want to deal with this other team getting in their face because they know that there's going to be respect between the two teams, isn't there, Travi, really?
Yeah, these two teams, I think they're going to be going into this one respecting the other as a potential buyer for that kind of championship spot, because whoever wins this one guarantees themselves third place overall, as well as that spot in the upper bracket final. So this is a really important game for both these teams, and they both know the caliber of the opponent they're going up against. And speaking of, well, Azami, she's not going to be played in this one. Going to be taken out as our first defensive man here. An operator, insanely powerful. I think we all know the impact she can bring into these games, so not really surprised to see her taken out of the pool here. However, Vigil, that is one that we don't don't see banned out a huge amount, but he certainly has his moments when he's in the game, and I can see the logical behind his ban.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it wasn't long ago we were seeing Vigil being almost a permaban for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So seeing them taken away, it's kind of late round flanking, late round problems being caused. Then it looks like Ghost Army are trying to take away from that. And realistically, that does make sense to me. I mean, we're looking at a team Ghost Army. One of the ways they played, especially in their most recent game, going up against, I believe it's Crown Zero, they were constantly finding these little chinks in the armor, little problem areas in the enemy team that they were able to just exploit. Getting rid of that Vigil, maybe giving a bit of respect, like you say, to LDL Valour, not letting them do the same, not giving them the opportunity to slip by unnoticed. The Azami being taken off the board, that makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, there's a lot of utility that can be used. It makes sure that if you do bring an Ashe or a Zafir, there's so much more utility you can get out of that. And with QLF bringing out that mirror, an operator they do quite like, that Ashe has just been made a lot more powerful. So getting rid of that Azami means that Ashe can focus on what's really important when it comes to the late round. And thinking of this late round, I'm quite liking this downstairs hold. You got the mirror set up, you've got the frost set up to go with it as well. I feel like I'm looking at a good setup overall.
Yeah, looking across the board there for Ghost Army, it's solid across, yeah, as you say, everything they've got going in this board of it is in their favour right now. They've got a good extended hold above as well as the hold down below as well. I like what they're bringing. And over on the attack, well, it's a lineup that looks a little bit aggressive to me, right? You've got the Grim and the Dokkaebi there. They want to go quite fast, obviously. Gridlock's there as well to cover their back. So should they push a bit of ground, not sure if it's clear behind them or just want a bit of a safety net there behind them. That's where the track stings can come into it. Ace there for the hard breach as well, and as you mentioned, the Ashe for dealing with those mirror windows, deployable shield up placed on piano. It's good, but I don't know if QLF knows about the player on Trophy Repel. They do certainly now, and Half takes the head off and opens up the game for Valour with a bang.
Yeah, now LDL Valour, they have the opportunity to bypass this second floor. They have the utility, the EMPs, they can do that. They don't really want to though, because they're aware that these flanks may be held. You see, Sinzu will do a bit of damage onto Lunar Wall, will not find the kill, but with these players down below, that C4s that can be used to stop the flank going down. Ghost Army, they only have Atox down there at the moment, but LDL Valour don't really know that. Yashiro's going to find an answer, takes away Zachariah. One C4 will go, doesn't find its mark, but that's okay. That Ashe has been taken away, and those mirror windows are still in play. A minute and a half left on the clock, and nothing really going one way or the other. No team really taking control in a way that the other one's not ready for. As the Dokkaebi scan goes out, that might just change, though. Lunar Wall able to find Atox, starts to move forward, aware of this verticality, because if they're not, then they're just going to get picked apart, just like Zach did. The Grim scans go out. They might think that this position is clear, because look at that. But as that scan does land, they realize Bandit's holding that angle. One player deficit for the defense, but you've got to remember, Travi, time is on their side.
That's it, Ghost Army, they can just play down the clock here. They've done a good job on that extended roam to burn a little bit of time of Valour there, and 2 minutes of the round gone. The three remaining players on the side of Ghost Army, they've got themselves a decent position with that so-called sixth defender on their pocket, but what they're unaware of, vertical blow from Chiron takes down Yasuke, and that makes it very, very difficult now for Ghost Army. Yashiro does have a C4 in pocket, can try and deny a plant should it go down here, but Valour, they've got a good man advantage here, and it gets even better. Uncertain takes down Sanzu. Yashiro gets one back with a C4, but 1 versus 3 inside of the bathroom here. Your position's going to be known. Nice Dokkaebi call just for a minute to deny a little bit of that intel and runs away, goes for a little bit of a lookout on towards the balcony, but Half is expecting it, but neither one can really win out the gunfight there. 20 seconds to go. The Fuser's going to be going down, and this clutch is just getting harder and harder by the second, and Half's going to close it out. Valour going to start things off strong.
Yeah, very, very strong for them. It's felt a lot more even towards the start, but then LDL Valour just started to pick things up and up a little bit more. Ghost Army, I feel like that last swing probably wasn't the play that I wanted to see coming out from Sinzu, because they had a really good angle from that closet area. They had that wall open all the way towards Solar. They could spot players trying to move forward. If they held that position with the DMR, and it's a very headshotty angle, they could have done a little bit more damage. They decided to get aggressive, go for the swing, and try and get a kill. They were just picked apart by these roamers. The player deficit just wasn't there for it. They couldn't really do that, because then it forced that player Yashiro into that awkward spot. They had to back up, they had to readjust, and by doing that, they gave a lot of map control, a lot of time, and most importantly, a lot of comfort and confidence to LDL Valour. Going back to the top floor again, Ghost Army not really shifting things up, but they are going to bring that Cade instead. We didn't really see much EMP usage out of LDL Valour, and I think Ghost Army might be trying to capitalize on that. Now they're bringing out that Twitch. They're going to be trying to deal with this utility. They're going to be a little bit more focused on getting those jammers, getting those K claws, and maybe if they can, get rid of some of those loyal casters as well. LDL Valour, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them go for a very similar take.
No, I think tried and true. It works once. Why change it up? You know, if it's working, then what's fixing it? You know, and I sit here and I look at this Ghost Army lineup. There's a lot of utility for the Twitch to gain here. I'm looking at those operators. 4 of them can be impacted by those drones here. There's a lot of importance being placed on Chiron to really be able to make that utility work for them as well. So it's really key and essential that those drones are getting in, dealing with the utility where they can exactly. Of course, for Valour, as you said, same sort of story before. Luna's going to go down from below. Vertical pressure is going to need to be applied all the way upwards. Of course, not quite as much being placed on the first floor this time around from Ghost Army. However, what does differ is they've got a player all the way down in the basement here looking to contest Valour as they try and make their entry.
Yeah, and now by doing that, it means that the LDL Valour, they're going to struggle a little bit more in getting these cutoffs and seeing some of these plays actually come through. And it means that the Ghost Army defenders have a little bit more control when it comes to this hold. Now, the job here for QLF isn't to find a kill, even though they are going to find Zachariah to open things up and take away the Ash, the first pick in both rounds so far. Their job is to waste time and really, really make them suffer. And they're going to do that in body count this time, as Luna Ball's also going to fall to QLF down in the basement. LDL Valour, they suddenly don't have as tight a hold in this round, and suddenly they're realizing that this verticality is going to be the death of them. Yashiro fighting hard, putting us in a 2 versus 5, and look at the HP on Chiron, as we still have QLF down below, and we still have the rest of Ghost Army on this roam. Yes, the information's there from Insert, but how much are they going to get from it? The peak comes out, doesn't find Sinzu, a bit of a pre-fire will follow, and does a little bit of damage, but it's actually going to be Sinzu. TCSG does the work, and, well, there you go. Atox holding that West main. It felt so much more comfortable. So now, LDL Valour, you said, Travi, it wasn't broke, don't fix it. Now they're going to have to.
Yeah, that's it. They're going to have to try and change things up there because Ghost Army seems to know exactly what was coming there. Spreading things out even wider than they did in the first round, where they sort of focus on the first floor in the first round. That time they spread themselves across all 3 floors, and QLF, you've got to give the guy credit. Down all the way in the basement. You know, as you said, not expected to get kills from that position. That's a time-wasting job. You waste a bit of time, retreat back to site, and if you can get away with your life, great. But take down 2 of them, you've not only done your job, but you've far exceeded the expectation there. And it really set Ghost Army up for success there, and a flawless round off the back of Victor's response. It shows that they're in this one to be playing for it, and look, it's going to force out a little bit of a side rotation from, of course, can't go back up to that bedroom site yet again, so going to be heading over to kitchen this time. One of my favourite sites here, like to see it always, and Valkyrie as well, in a nice little peek of where these black eyes are going to be placed. So much intel they can be provided here, and it's looking at how vertical this objective can be. I'm looking towards the 3 C4s that Ghost Army line up here, and this one could be quite explosive.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what that Valkyrie's going to really bring into this round. I mean, we don't have an IQ on the LDL Valour side. This site is essentially going to be like reading on Kav Dining, on Kav Dostoevsky. It is going to be a top floor hold until that last minute or so. If Ghost Army decide to hold that top floor, they can do so, and then when they drop down in the last minute or so, that's when those C4s really come into play. That's when the Valve cameras really start to follow it. So you can see now that's why we're seeing the setup we're seeing. There's a lot of work upstairs, a lot of utility committed to that, so they can hold it, but not too much that when they drop down, they have nothing to work with. LDL Valour, they could decide to just go down below and try and force their way up those west main stairs and up those main lobby stairs. But if they do so, they'll find themselves very, very trapped and very, very pressured. So they're going to head for those windows, start the regular droning, make sure that they spotted those van cams and get Brava in. Get that utility, turn that on its head, and put it in favor of the attack.
Yeah, that's it. You can see there, half scanning the walls of the main area there, just trying to look out for those Valkyrie cameras, see what he's got, see if he can find anything, take them out, convert them over to attacker intel. Elsewhere though, the defense of Ghost Army holding up well, not really feeling a whole lot of pressure at the minute, just sort of letting the attack slowly do their thing here. You see QLF looking to get aggressive again, sees the sledge, it doesn't quite get the gunfight though, both players still going to remain alive, and gas charges are used. A little bit of a fallback to happen, but they're still going to be holding on to this top floor quite comfortably here. And for Valour, well, Luna's been shut out, and that worries me there because he said it's like to be quite vertical, and the one operator that deals with that, they're gone. And speaking of gone, Zachariah gone as well, 0-3, not having the impact on that entry roll at all.
Yeah, Chiron's going to get taken down as well. The Doctor Beat's going to fall to that frost mat, and that means that Harp has to try and take something here to really bring it back. That breach is opening now, though, with the time and the player advantage in favor of the defense. That's going to go against them more than it's going to go for them. Time starts to tick down to the 1 minute clock, and Kyron does not really have much health to work with, and not much stamina either. As a minute ticks down, they will have control of that verticality, but they know some of these players are here. Yashiro, as well as that player over towards Solar, are going to cause problems. So you can see they've drawn out the bandit, but they haven't drawn that second player. If they don't realize that player's there, and this Dokkaebi scan should help them do that, then that could be horrible. 45 seconds ticking down on the clock. They know the player's there, but the mirror window is going to cause even more issues. The Brava drone spots them out. The pre-fire comes out from insert. They try and find the kill, but they're not able to land it just yet. 35 seconds ticking down. They don't have control of that top floor, Trav, and they might not get down to that mid floor.
Oh no, and it goes from bad to worse. Kyron's going to be taken out of lobby there. Unsert falls as well, and it's all on to half here. On the lonesome, on the Brava. Spots Yoshiro hiding behind the bed there, but I think at this point all it's going to be is a consolation prize, but not even that as Ghost Army. Jaina's second flawless round back to back, and sure, first round might have not have gone their way, but since that point, they light it up with 2, and they're looking really, really good right now. I'm looking at that Ghost Army defense. They're burning time. And I think for Valour, I think the real issue there is those early rounds. They're not getting the entry picks. Players are dying before they're getting inside the building, before they can really be felt, having an impact in that round. And because of that, Valour, they get to that mid round, they get to that late round, and they look at what they've got available to them. And unfortunately, it's just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Zachariah. I mean, Zachariah's fallen in 2 rounds out of the 3 we've seen so far as the first pick in each round. Doing that takes away those Ash barricades. We've seen Mirror being brought out in pretty much half the rounds we've seen so far. That Ash, it means that, well, they can't deal with those mirrors. They can't deal with some of these barricades that we've seen, some of the Royal canisters as well. It makes a lot more work for the attacking side, especially without that gun on the board. I can see Zachariah's trying something different. They're going to go for the Lion instead, and that makes sense. Use something that they could get a little bit more utility out of quickly. Maybe Lion might not be the first pick I'd go to, but LDL Valour might have something lined up. Again, Ghost Army on the defense. They are going to head down to this basement now. They've got a lot of vertical work set up for them, so they can play that top floor again, cause some issues, drop down. The main job here for the defense is not to actually draw all these players up above and lock them down like they did before. It's just to waste time, pick them apart from above, do little bits of damage. And again, like we said, it's what we saw QLF do in basement. Waste time, divert attention, and divert resources. If they can do that, their job is done. If they can get a kill, even better.
Simple as that. Unfortunately, we all know too well for these players. It can't always be the simplest thing, as much as it sounds on paper quite easy to do. Ghost Army, we know the quality of this team. We know how formidable they can be. And with QLF and Yasuke, or QLF and Atox rather, on that first floor, they're already looking to slow down this attack. You can see Zachariah and LDL Valour getting the drones in here, but look towards the objective. And C4 caught out by the EMP. Wouldn't have caught anything just yet anyway. Gonna get taken out there by Luna, and they know that Glaz is going to be knocking on the door of the objective, but Shiro decides to take an aggressive position, goes for the swing. They know it's coming, but that doesn't stop him. Unsert does eventually trade it back, takes about half health for damage in the process, but look at this. Atox is on the flank, gets one for his troubles, and this is what happens if you don't give the Rome or Ghost Army any respect. They'll take your heads right off, and Kyron does get things equal back out here, 3 apiece, but already Valour, they're going to have to rechange their strategy here a little bit.
Exactly. Feels like Valour, they're starting to pull things back just to keep things even. They still have to deal with QLF, and they still need to deal with that mid-floor. Half the round is ticked down, and while the wall is open down in that basement, on the White Cellar, it's just not a line of sight that they can really get much use out of. Zachariah, though, will find a kill onto Yasuki. 2 versus 3 in favor of the attack now. This is starting to look a bit better as QLF takes some damage and now starts to have to rotate back to site. Sinju gets one. QLF through the wall gets another. Yes, Karen has a refrag, but that only puts us into a 1 versus 1. The last Dokkaebi scan goes out. The information of the audio is not going to be there when they get to site, and now they have to assume that they can be behind every angle. They know that case is in the pocket. Sinju can hold this position. They know that that player's over towards that. Does it go both ways, though? The sprint comes out. Carmen goes for the swing, but Sinzu's there. Just better with the LRSMG. Will find that round to go in favor of the defense of Ghost Army. And LDL Valour, that was looking better, but again, we got to focus on this roam. A bit more attention needs to be paid to it. They gave them way too much freedom, and they even let them get so much more aggressive, even with these anchors on site. They got more aggressive, swung up with a shotgun, and took away some of the key players. That Glaz was going to be so impactful in that round if they weren't met with a shotgun to the face.
That's it. Valour wanting to go direct, I really like the idea there. It's the perfect opportunity to do so, but you've either got to make sure your cover's immaculate or the roam's taken clear off before that. And unfortunately for the side of Valour, that was not the case for either of those conditions there. And Ghost Army, they spotted the opportunity, took full advantage of it. I mean, you saw the player on the shot, just got aggressive, just went for the kill. Any other position, if there's a cover coming in from the side of Ghost Army, or Valour, sorry, Valour are covering that. Shotgun doesn't get away with that one. It's just an issue on the cover. You need to be giving these roamers respect because it's evident that this is where Ghost Army are comfortable. Running around the map, playing very flexible, playing with that a lot of control and a lot of dominance and a lot of assertiveness. And right now, Valour, I just don't think they're playing in a play style that really is going to be able to succeed against that. They need to make sure that these roamers are dealt with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things we're going to see as a kind of consistent problem if it's not really dealt with. And like I said, Ghost Army, they have these high impact moments where they can spot these little chinks in the armor, and then they can capitalize upon it. It seems like the early round, like you say, is very steadily becoming that little chink. I mean, Ghost Army, they found it quickly. They found a couple of kills very early on, and LDL have constantly been playing the catch-up game. Going back to this top floor, though, Ghost Army, they're going to have to deal with a different style of attack. LDL realized, well, they can't try that solo push anymore because it just didn't work. So they're going to have to start trying from main lobby. The push comes out from QLF again, playing down below, trying to find the first kill again. But is it going to be able to do it? Will take quite a bit of damage in the angle Zachariah holds. Very, very upset that they've been taken away so quickly each time. They're going to make sure that QLF probably isn't going to get it away, but they're going to be able to do it. The brief fire through the wall doesn't land. And QLF just stays down there, unburgeoned, unproblemed, and just in their lane, flourishing. Travi, they're going to back off the boiler. They're going to wait for that late round. And Zachariah just doesn't want to get close up against that. They're going to play that safe now. But now Ghost Army, they have that phantom presence. LDL Valour do not know that QLF has gone back to site, do they?
No, and that's it. They don't know where QLF is right now. That's a massive question mark here for the side of Valour. And this is what we were saying earlier about the time wasting thing, right? Sure, QLF can go down there and get some kills. It's great for the side of Ghost Army, but so is... Well, so is that. That was a great shot there from Atox, fighting for their life here in Kitchen. But yet again, it's Valour struggling with this roam game here. The visual's already up. QLF cautious of the camera that's been hacked. They know the players are going to come. But look, there's a minute left on the clock here, and Valour are already trying to clear out, still trying to clear out players in the basement, still trying to clear out players on the first floor. They can start to put a bit of attention towards the objective, but they're not going to be able to capitalise on anything up there if these roamers don't go checked. So you see these players on site. Half gets a nice shot onto Zinzu there. Another C4 does go out, but yet again a little bit short, giving Uncertain the opportunity to get the wall open. But he's not even looking the right way because he's cautious of these roamers that, from Ghost Army, are still up, still causing problems, and it's causing Valour to stall out a little bit right now because they've got that question. Do they deal with the roamers? Do they go hunting? Or do they focus on the objective? And with 30 seconds to go, you can only pick one or the other.
Exactly. Zachariah is able to find QLF, deals with that problem now, so that is slightly justified that Zachariah is able to find another one through the breach. But here's the big problem. Now that they've got these entryways off the site, they need to go through them. 20 seconds left on the clock. The piano window opens up. The shotgun looks. Yuzuki doesn't find the mark, but Uncert gets that kill. Now it's all down to Atox. Zachariah gets a TK, and now Harv tries to get this taken away. Uncert tries to get felled, but is able to get a second round on the attack here for LDL Valour. It got way too close. And I feel like at that point, they were lucky that Ghost Army just tried to peek it and tried to take the gunfights. Time could have been wasted there by Yasuki, and that could have gone entirely different, even though the player advantage was firmly in LDL's favor. We're seeing again, time and time, that they were holding these angles so late into the round to watch for these flankers. They need to be dealing with them quicker. They need to be having at least a nomad or something that they could just commit something to, like even a zero, even just flank cameras, so they could just leave it and say, let's focus on the site. We're leaving it way too late. I'm going to pick that nomad is going to do exactly that for that reason, because you can only get lucky so many times.
That's it. And it was something me and Delta were talking about the other day when Valour were playing against Minions. Quite a few of the rounds that Valour didn't end up winning in that game were because of hero plays. Zachariah in that previous round doing a great job of it. Uncert getting some good eliminations as well. These hero plays from Valour, they're not all too rare to see, but you can't rely on them consistently. There, it bailed them out of a round, and it bailed them out of what could have been quite a disastrous 4-1 lead for the side of Ghost Army. But they now need to find the consistency. They now need to try and deal with that roam, and Parv, I do have to question it just a little bit. They're switching off the Nomad, putting the utility elsewhere again. And, you know, I look at the Ashe being brought along here. I do have to wonder, is that the pick you can be bringing? You've got a Deimos available to you, Jackal, or as you said, a Nomad. Something to deal with those roamers, or just make sure your back's covered. I think for Valour, that would be the move right now.
You see, I understand the logic behind the Thatcher pick. I mean, the utility, that was a big problem
Yeah.
that could have gone very much in favor of the defense in that last round. The Thatcher was able to get the utility, the C4s followed, it could have wasted a bit of time. They still have Dokkaebi. Kyron's been staying alive quite late into these rounds. Those impact EMPs could be used on that breach. Maybe they don't need to have 2 of these EMP operators, but, well, the time for theory crafting is over. LDL Valour, they've made their choice, they've made their bed, they've got to lie in it. And it feels like Ghost Army, they've backed off a little bit more. LDL Valour, they've still got to deal with these roamers. They've still got to keep an eye out for ATOX and maybe QLF. But they've started to be a lot more aware of this. You see a lot of drones currently in play, looking over towards that main lobby, maybe, hopefully looking down below, and nobody really contests them. Ghost LDL Valour not giving ATOX anything to work with. That might come to bite them in the backside later, as long as this utility is not being held. If it's not, who knows? The impact EMPs will go through, the breach will open out, and you will see the Tubbies starting to freeze that out. Won't stop the Bandit Trick from going through, but Luna Wolf's able to find ATOX down below, watching that roamer, and much quicker than they have done before, with half the round taken off the board. Some damage goes onto Chiron, but doesn't get the kill.
Oh, Sinzu, debating with the idea of going for a little bit of a run out here, and just one thing to give Valour credit for, as we said, they struggled with the early round a lot so far. Getting the early pick on towards the roamer, you've got to give Luna credit for that one. That's exactly what Valour needed right now. Unfortunately, what they don't need is QLF to be getting one right back over towards Luna. That Ashe is going to be taken off the board there. Yushiro trying to retreat. Uncert takes down Sinzu. QLF with very nasty shot over towards Chiron. Levels things back out. 3 versus 3, but look at that. Valour, 2 players are down on the floor. Oh no. And that just leaves Zachariah wasn't effective. 3 versus 1 here. Yasuki confirms one of the kills there, but look at this. Sacks outside on their lonesome, and I've got a feeling Valour, they can see the blood on the floor. They've got to know this last player's down there. But Ghost Army, they're going to give away nothing. They're just going to be patient, wait it out, let the revive come on through. But look at this, cautious of it, knows committing to that revive could be as dangerous as it could be successful if it pulls off. But oh no, that's unfortunate, the timing. And now it leaves Zachariah 1 versus 3. Ghost Army know exactly where this player is coming in from. 15 seconds to go, no choice but to sprint directly in. Blinded by the F, that mind, what can you really do in this situation? Stuck between a rock and a hard place. And Ghost Army, they're going to be coming out of that half with a 4-2 lead.
Yeah, very, very confident round. I mean, that was better. I mean, I liked what we saw there. We saw the Ashe go down below. We saw them deal with that sentry playing down there. And Luna Wolf, I like that. They had that player in position to deal with that breach, deal with the utility. But then QLF just walked down, was able to find that head and get another one as well. Because as soon as that Ashe got taken away, LDL Valour, they had to pull that player to try and counter it. There was a much better looking attack from that site, and one of the better ones that we've seen on that top floor, I think, aside from the one that LDL won. I feel like it was a little bit too little too late. So now they're going on to the defense, so you now have to defend what they so difficultly attacked. And now going on to this side, I feel like the utility, they're playing it a little bit better now. They've got the Warden, they've got the Valkyrie, they don't have any utility denial, but they've got half playing that tuber out. By taking that tuber out, you just kind of fend off the inevitable with the breach. Using that utility, it means that they can't open it straight away. It means that any charges on the wall, any zero cams, for example, might be taken away. And most importantly, it gives that information as well. If you stood below, maybe with a C4 waiting to see if there's anyone there. Again, a Valkyrie and 3 C4s on the board, Travis, so we might see a little bit of an explosive round.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the lineup of Ghost Army there, just catching the corner of my eye in the prep phase. Is they all 6 picks? They didn't commit through to their initial operator picks. No single member on Ghost Army did it. They all had a change of plan here. They're foregoing any hard breach on this lineup here. They're going for something with Yasuki, the buck, vertical. The idea probably there is send it down below, send it firing all the way up. You've got Nomad there from ATOX to cover the flanks. You've got Sinzu as well for the intel, Yushiro for the execute. I've got a feeling Ghost Army, they've got a very specific plan in mind for this round. They know exactly what they want to do there. QLF as well. He said about the Valkyrie and the run out. from Harv, gets Sinzu, and that's a big loss early on because that's the Lion. That's one of those operators that you want for that end of round, that execute in the final dying seconds of it. And unfortunately, it's an early grave there for one of our French operators, and it puts Ghost Army in a bit of a difficult spot. Yasuki going to try and work this vertical from down below, but LDL Valour, they're having none of it right now, and Luna as well, looking to get aggressive, maybe even try and take down this Buck as well.
Yeah, spot on the drones. You've got Luna Wall and Yasuki downstairs. Now, this entire Ghost Army lineup is poised for a fast push, is poised for an aggressive one, and Sinzu being taken away is horrible for that. Nevertheless, though, you will see those Grims come out. Harv will get spotted. They'll know the player that's taken out Sinzu, and the drone goes down below. They hear that Goo mine, so they realize this player's downstairs in LDL Valour. This is a really good time waste now because they know that that Legion's there. They don't know where the Legion is, though. They don't know exactly what they're holding and if there's anyone to support them. That's slowing things down a lot more for Ghost Army, and as a util will eventually start to go out, that's going to be QLF taken off the board. Harv able to find another kill now, as we do see ourselves in a 5 versus 2. Unsert with the hatch peak, we'll be able to find Atox. Now feeling a lot more confident, we'll be looking for another one, but not before Yashiro finds Chiron. Harv with the answer puts Yasuki in that 1 versus 4 we've just seen on the other side. And that's going to be LDL Valour taking their first attack, first defensive round. Very well played. They wasted time really nicely, and they kind of picked off some of the key operators for Ghost Army's execute there.
Yeah, they certainly did. Great job there. And I really, really liked that from Valour there. They're responding to the aggression that Ghost Army had on their own defensive half with a little bit of their own, right? They're responding back to it. And Ghost Army, I don't think they were quite anticipating it there. The lineup that they had, it's very specific. And I think the issue with having such a specific lineup is when things start to go a little bit wrong, when things don't go perhaps exactly to plan, what do you then do? Because your utility doesn't have a lot of options. Sure, you've got a very, very sharp dagger, but I think what Ghost Army needed there is a little bit of a multi-tool, a little bit of something that has more solutions to more questions, because right there, Ghost Army just really struggled once those first few picks come through. And speaking of specific, we're seeing a Carly pick coming on through there from Atox, an operator that, well, we know she can hold the big window upstairs, presuming that's where she'll be, sat outside of the rappel. As you can see, Valour there as well, they're putting a lot of emphasis on this top floor. They want to hold this vertical, and obviously that's going to be the goal here for Ghost Army. Clear this out first.
Yeah, they're going to swap off that Kali. I think they might have expected it to be the basement, or they might have wanted to play that Kali over the wall to main lobby, or, like you say, big window. But the thing is with the Kali, it's very situational. And if you look at that last round, like you say, those little things can really, really undo you. Too many things can go wrong if you expect them to go a certain way. So they've just decided, right, no, the Brava, it's a lot more fluid. You're always going to get utility out of that Brava no matter what you do. So we're just going to bring that instead. Again, a mirror's being brought, a vertical on that top floor, and we will see the Twitch being able to get that first window because nobody's playing it. No one's there to shoot that drone out. And suddenly that makes it a lot more difficult of a position to play. The defenders are still going to do it, though. They know the angles. They know what they want to hold. That's exactly what they need to get. Ghost Army starting to make their way into the site. QLF looking to deal with some roamers here. We'll start droning forward. We'll have some information. There you go. That's the key one. Get that gridlock down on the main stairs. The audio cue, if they do decide to either shoot it or walk on it, will give that position away. Bit of pressure over towards Piano, and you can see that, yeah, Yashiro's going to start shooting, but Lunamall's not really going to take the bait. They're aware of somebody on this window. They're aware that if they hold this angle, it can be very difficult for the attackers to deal with. The Claymore goes out. The drone will follow Piano, and to hopefully give Yashiro a bit more to work with. And as the util starts to go through, the information starts to follow. The drone comes through, and there we go. The shots from the wall. Luna Wall finding the gunshots from every angle, it feels like, will be taken down. The Fenrir gadget triggers on Yashiro, but Luna's taken up by the Doxstim, like you say, is able to fall back and get back to at least some health to back themselves out in this round. Half the round taken down now. Ghost Army haven't really made any entrances onto site yet.
No, not at all. And for Ghost Army, I thought that one should have been a little bit of a freebie there. Luna should have been dead in that position. Unsert, though, taking a lot of damage, being almost sent to the grave. But look at this. They're using the vertical. They're going to try and get the Doxstim back up there. Luna eventually does fall. Zachariah gets one back over towards Sinzu here. And Ghost Army, this top floor push is proving a little bit costly here as they're trying to make the way across. They're trying to use the vertical. But Valour, they're still holding on to that top floor. They're still using the positions. But Atox looking to get close towards the objective now. Try and make that execute on in. Mute Jammer's taken out, allowing the exothermics to get to work. But Soda cancers back and forth, but look at that. Atox is there for the position, and they've got the opening now. And with the smoke grenades available to them, Ghost Army could try and force a plant down here. It'd be risky to do so with 2 C4s still in the pocket of Valour. Certainly something they'll be looking to use later on into this round, but with only 20 seconds to go, there's not a whole lot of it left to go. The vertical has to be used against them. The coverage has to be immaculate here. C4 gets Atox, Zachariah, and Uncert fall. And Ghost Army, they're holding on to this one, but they have no idea that Chiron's upstairs. Kills one, downs the other, and leaves Yasuke in the 2 versus, 1v1 rather, and the C4's going to go, the C4's going to do it, and just like that, Valour, explosive fashion, hold on to that round there and chain themselves together for a second defense.
Exactly, on that top floor, they're seeing Chiron play that so well on that mirror, getting not only 1, but 2, but 3 kills off the back of that play. Realistically, it was someone I was going to talk about. Ghost Army, they had to fob off that top floor to try and focus on dining, focus on getting the breach open. And yes, they still had Yashiro up on the top floor, but Yashiro had to play a very passive position. They couldn't really get aggressive. They couldn't really do much more about it. And then that's when LDL Valour really struck. They took advantage of the long angles. They took advantage of the time deficit. And then as soon as time went on, you saw Zachariah, for example, making more lines of sight, making more problem areas for Ghost Army to deal with. So they couldn't really get that control over those players. As time goes on, Ghost Army, they're forced into a more uncomfortable situation as they realize they've got to go for the plan. They don't have a choice. And that's where they really start to fall. They start to get a little bit aggressive, a little bit too swingy. And then when it comes down to that last player, they have to go for the plan. Yes, Yasuki could get a kill, but they didn't have the time to work with for anything else. So it's stuck on there. The C4 just does everything. Going on to the bottom floor now, we see LDL draw even. And now they are looking to try and take the lead for the first time since that first round where they took it and lost it. Going on to the defense of the basement, this is a map that you can see a very similar setup coming out from the side of Ghost Army. They've got the Legion, they've got the Roamers, and they're going to force Ghost Army to try and clear that out.
Yeah, and they're going to want to go fast here, Ghost Army, right? I'm looking at the lineup. They've got the Deimos there to try and hunt down any individuals that are going to be left lurking around the map. They've got the Amaru as well, an operator that, well, if she does one thing good, it is, of course, the speed there. QLF and Q. See what gets going with that one here. But first, does need to clear out this player playing towards this stop position here. Luna, just by being there, is burning time here for Ghost Army's attack. And that's going to be exactly the goal with this massive, quite deep roam, right? Waste it out, burn the time here, and really it's all on Ghost Army to try and get this job done quickly, to try and clear it out as fast as they can, because Ghost Army are pushing in with 20 seconds left to go again. We saw exactly what Valour can do. They'll let one player slip through the cracks, and like you saw Chiron do, just do all of the damage in the world there. So, minute into the round now, they're targeting a player with those Deathmark trackers. It's going to be Uncert on the Bandit. The question is, can he survive the hunt?
Yes, while the information goes directly to Sinzu, the callouts will no doubt be following. The position is given away, and the attackers are really going to start to spring and get this in their favor momentum-wise. So they can clear out that west main side, they can start clearing out towards dining, but they don't spot the player. It was going to be Yashiro though, finding Uncert. The C4 follows through kitchen hallway, but it's not going to find its mark. That's going to be Yashiro downing them, getting their 11th kill so far in this game. That blue stairs is a big problem. That hatch is opened up, so the attackers are focusing towards the site. But now, blue stairs, Zachariah, the MP5, a deadly weapon, especially with that ACOG in pocket, and most importantly, without Ghost Army's knowledge. It looks like Amaru is just a little bit careful. They're aware that some setup that could lead to a player being there, but they're probably looking down as opposed to up. Rotating around, a minute left on the clock. The two barrels will go down to force these attackers into these choke point zone positions. Zachariah is able to find Yashiro, takes away the Ash, the driving force of this attacking lineup. And as the C4 goes out, it doesn't find its mark. But 40 seconds tick down. They know where the ace is. No damage goes on to Yasuki, but that's going to be only for a short time. Finds Yasuki. Atox pushes in with the SMG-12, tries to find Chiron, can do it from close range, isn't going to be able to, and a 2 versus 3 with Sinzu and QLF apart but together as Sinzu gets taken down. It's all down to the Amaru here.
Yeah, we're going to try and pull out a 1 versus 3 clutch. The LMG, the cutter weapon, you want to do this thing, makes it a double, gets the third! QLF on the Amaru, coming absolutely huge from Ghost Army, salvaging the round from what was almost certain defeat. Gets the job done. And now Ghost Army hold on to their lead. What?
Oh my lord, Ghost Army cannot be winning those rounds if you're LDL Valor, because they had everything. They had that late round flank that Ghost Army had missed. They had these players being picked off, and they had two attackers split apart from each other, no coordination that they could have really worked off of. They had the Dokkaebi in wine cellar, they had the Amaru on the main stairs. That is not something you should really struggle with as a defensive lineup, but no, they gave Ghost Army, they gave QLF these one-on-ones, and QLF, we gave a little bit of shout out to Yashiro's frags in this game so far in that last round. Well, they were a little bit upset by that. They wanted to get a little bit of mention their own, drawing even, so 22 kills between these two players that have really, really stepped up. Now, LDL Valor, after a round like that, they're saying, right, no, we're not bothering with it. We're not going down below. That top floor's just opened up. We need to shift things up. We need to get back into our groove, and this is the way to do it. This is the side that they've won on that first defensive round. They're going to want to keep that momentum going. They're going to want to keep that control, but they're going to be shaking, Travi. They're going to be annoyed. They're going to be upset because they let such a close round get away from them.
Yeah, that one really should have been winnable there for Valour. That should have really been theirs. Those metrics, really, unfortunately for them. And this is the thing now. That lead, it continues to elude them. They're unable to bring that lead back into their favour. And it's Ghost Army, yet again, continuing to stay out on top here. Valour, this round for them is just yet another equaliser. I do look ahead to see if, of course, Valour can do it. Whether they will be able to take it over the line and again bring a lead in for themselves, but that's the future. Let's focus on what we got going on here and now, which is very standard. It's that's clear out here coming in from the attack to try and deal with these Romans that have been ever so prevalent throughout this game. Uncertain Zachariah here on the first floor, latter of which taking a little bit of damage, but just juices it right back up here. Vertical work coming in from Yashiro, going on the hunt for this dock, but perhaps opening that vertical might not have been the players. He's now in a really difficult spot down below. Trying to support the teammate by taking out the Zodo canisters, but you've got to be cautious. Not only is there the vertical pressure, there's the players in the corridor as well that could swing out and take your life at a moment's notice.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to, though. That canister will be taken away, and so will Yashiro as Zachariah finds that kill, that opening pick, and takes away that attacking lineup. Sinzu has an answer, takes away Lunavort, and the Valkyrie is gone with the utility that remains, unlike Zachariah, who is going to be able to use their utility later into the round. That verticality, yes, it opens up that top floor site and it allows Ghost Army to start applying some pressure, but LDL Valor are in a good spot. They're where they need to be. They have pressure over towards breach. They have Zachariah ready to deal with it and ready to deal with some long angles, and that main side breach isn't open. Defenders still above Chiron and Harv are going to be the big issues. You can see that Ghost Army have split a little bit to try and deal with it. A player on bathroom piano window, players over towards piano side, but they know that these players are going to still be above. Time starts to tick down, the prone angle is spotted out, and the Grim Beast finger will try and spot that player, and it will do so exactly. But Atox has to be aware that they could rush in, they should try and find a kill, they're going to do that, and they're going to get that cut off. They're going to walk in unseen into the site, and as that C4 goes off, it's going to find Atox. That information is going to be there, and while Yasuke can try and go for a plant, they know that players are low. Zachariah finds Yasuke 2 kills away from evening things out. This Ghost Army try to bring this back. They're going to run into Sinzu and Harv. The two Dream Team players going to push forward and try and spot QLF. Make sure they can't have another round like they just did as they find 1 kill and take away Zachariah.
Yeah, I mean, never count QLF out right here. Don't entirely count them out here. Still got 20 seconds to play for. It's not a lot of time. It shouldn't be happening here. Valour should be able to hold on to this one. The fuse is cold. You're locked out of the objective. Piano's being watched. Every possible angle here. You might get another one. You might get Chiron. But at this point, it's just a little bonus prize to see you over towards the next round. Hold on, QLF!
Oh.
No! Oh, no! I was almost anticipating that to happen yet again, but Valour, stop swinging them, please.
Yeah.
Please just stop swinging them. Like, I don't know if my heart can take any more of that. Valour, they level things up 5-5 there with another round that really shouldn't have been that close, really shouldn't have been going that quite all the way. But regardless of, they get it 5-5 now. They're even, and I've got to wonder, where is this coming from? Because normally Valour, they can be quite a well-composed team. They don't throw away silly things, and it feels a little uncharacteristic for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason we're seeing the scoreline as it is because we're seeing this late round. I mean, the early round was their problem in attack. That, I think we can quite comfortably say that. Going on to the defense, it's been the end great game. They seem uneasy. They seem, I don't want to say unprepared, but uncomfortable in the positions they're finding themselves in. And I think it's micro-positioning as well. That's a big thing for me here, because if we saw Harv and if we saw another player just adjust slightly, that round would have been completely different. Time was ticking down. If they had a player on that rotate, you can see Luna Wall making up now. They had the last player over on half wall. They would have forced QLF to get in, forced them to take a look at these lines of sight, and just waste time that they really did not have. But that's a 1 versus 3. That isn't a situation that you should find yourself in, realistically. You shouldn't find yourself going from that dominating of a round all the way to how close that is. So, what are some of the bigger issues that we saw there? One-on-one peeking. They are giving these opportunities to QLF. And speaking of that, Luna Wall's going to fall as well. And not to find another killer in this round so far, as the round will see at least one player or one team go onto match point. Damage goes on to Zachariah, but again, as it's the dock, it's not going to do anything permanent. They have the opportunity to heal, which they should be doing before they peak again. Atox will rotate around the Yin Candela's in pocket and the smokes as well. No Warden on the defensive side means that if they decide to take that bathroom, they're going to, unless Zachariah can play that wall almost perfectly. The rest of Ghost Army, though, Travis, they're going to start doing their own play. They're going to start getting their players in place, like the Gridlock, as Zachariah does take a lot more damage, but again, it's Doc, they can stim. They're just going to keep that in pocket. They have full HP. Why get rid of it? Well, the reason is Atox. Atox going to jump in, find a kill, and hopefully using some utility will take away that Doc. And a 2-player advantage now for Ghost Army, as Unsert takes quite a bit of damage as well. They're going to have to drop back now that top floor firmly in favor of the attackers for the first time.
Yeah, it really is. Vertical control finally really being the name of the game for a lot of these attacks, and finally it feels like one of these teams has found it quite effectively. C4's going to go up, but no, it's going to be QLF with yet another over towards Chiron there. And Ghost Army, they make this round even more comfortable for themselves. 2 versus 5, Harv and quite low health Unsert to try and bring it back. Former of which does start it, but then it gets immediately taken back out, and it's all onto Unsert, all onto the Bandit. Takes down Yoshiro, but Sinzu finishes the job off, and Ghost Army, they bring themselves up, and they are looking mighty, mighty good off the back of it there. And one of these things, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm wondering about them for Ghost Army is they did a great job in that round because they got the opening kill. They got a freebie there, taking out one of the players, taking down Luna, I believe it was, to start off that round.
Yeah.
And just by doing that, a lot of teams you'll see them get nervous or get excited, try and go for something silly, but no. Ghost Army, they just continue with the plan like nothing ever happened, really. They just keep working on, and that's exactly the kind of composure they're going to be needing here, because as this round count and as this game sort of drags on, that pressure is going to rise, and you need to make sure it's not getting in your head. You're keeping a level game, and you're playing at your best. For Valour, I don't know if I can quite say the same that's happening for them.
Exactly. Now, you've got to remember with these teams, this is a playoff series. This is a double elimination playoff series. So to remind you the stakes, whichever team is going to win this and the next, get to the scoreline of 2-0 at least, or 2-1, whichever team picks up 2 maps, they are going to continue to the upper bracket finals. Whoever doesn't will be knocked down to the lower bracket. And as a result, they're going to be fighting for their life in every single game. Every team wants that buffer. Every team wants that easier ride when it comes to going to the grand finals. They don't want to have to fight their way just to stay in it and possibly go up against the one team that beat them already. So you can see where both these teams really want to give it their all. Ghost Army, I'd love to see a little bit more tight usage of that utility like we saw from Atox to deal with Zachariah. Well, we saw with these cutoffs to deal with these roamers on that top floor. A bit more of that, and I'll be very, very happy. It looks like with the LDL Valour, though, they want that kitchen dining site. They don't want to go to the same site they've only just lost on match point, because why would they? They don't want to recreate it, but Zachariah again is going to be recreating it as Atox gets them crossing the window. And that's going to be the dock again. The late round utility of those stims, meaning that being taken away, meaning all damage is final for every player in this lobby now. And Ghost Army with 5 players to LDL's 4, they're going to be in a much better position. A lot of utility still in pocket, a minute almost off the clock, and now the Twitch is going to start getting to work here. LDL Valour, there's going to be a lot of work required from them, especially with that mirror window taken off the board.
Yeah, utility's just falling apart here for Valour a little bit now. All of this utility, all of the cameras, everything they've got available to them, but it's just being taken off the board. This bathroom window that's been ever so dangerous for Valour in the last couple of rounds. Well, Unsert's going to go back up there, try and at least hold the position that I believe Zachariah was meant to be holding throughout this round. And someone debating and going for a little bit of a jump out there. Chiron was thinking about it, but eventually he's going to be backing off there, not wanting to give Ghost Army even more of them. bit stronger man count. Elsewhere, it's all on this top floor right now. Ghost Army trying to make the clear across, trying to get themselves over. They need to deal with these roamers. There's one in offices, one playing that bathroom position. Chiron, else on trophy stairs, taking a little bit of damage, a little bit more from the Twitch drone, but takes it down. And speaking of taking down, QLF takes down half there, 5 versus 3 now for Valour. It's a difficult one, and Ghost Army, they're starting to eye up the objective here, but it might be put on pause as the vertical from Unsert gets good, takes down Atox here, and it's a 4 versus 3. Still a decent position here for Ghost Army, but it is that little bit harder with the Ying off the board.
Exactly. Now that top floor is the big focus of Ghost Army. They realize there's a problem. They realize they need to deal with it. Yashiro has definitely stepped up to the task, able to find Luna and Chiron. But Unsert has an answer of their own. But Unsert in a 1 versus 3 has to stop this plank going down. They have to make sure they rotate. And while they're holding the angles through to West Main, they're not where they need to be. They don't know that this plank is going down, and they don't know where. Time ticks down, and Unsert in the 1 versus 3 with time in there against them at this point is going to have to try and make something happen. The shots come out, the attackers call out where this player is. They know that they're playing on the hacks, the damage doesn't come through, and it's going to be Yasuke going to close that down, and another round goes in favor of Ghost Army, and Travi, you know what that means. That's a 7-5 victory for them. Chalet goes in their favor, and they will go to the next map with that map in hand. Ghost Army very strong. Like you said, they got that first pick, and then they stuck to the plan. It was just a little bonus, wasn't it?
It was indeed just a little bit of a bonus, and I think it's good for Ghost Army there, right? You know, you're 7-5. It's not quite comfortable, but you did get your own map pick over the line. I think that's the really important thing there for Ghost Army. On the side of Valour, I think that one firmly should have been theirs, and I think they will be thinking that as well, going in, you know, with how that defensive half started for them. They really should have been taking that map. I think they just lost a little bit of composure towards the end of the game there. So I think going into map number 2, it's your own map pick. Get a bit more comfortable, reset the mental, and just go into it and take us all the way through to border.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, that next map is going to be Nighthaven Labs. This is the map that LDL Valor tend to play a lot more, as opposed to Chalet, which they don't really bring out. So I'm expecting a lot more match game, and I feel like LDL, they'll take that as a warm-up. It's not their map pick. Just appreciate it. Just let's get in. This is where they really need to step up. But they are going to have a little bit of a break before we do get onto that map, Travi, because we are going to take a 5-minute break just to recover, just to rest, get some water. But we are going to be back very soon, so make sure you don't go anywhere.
And map number 1 going all the way in regulation there, 7-5, but it's Ghost Army to be taking their own map pick, and we're going to be heading into Nighthaven Labs. My name's Travi. Join over there is McCready, and we've been treated to a banger of a map 1. McCready, gosh, how are you feeling after that one?
I feel really excited for this second map because on the one hand, yes, Ghost Army have won that, but there have been some moments LDL really shouldn't have given them. And this is on the map, like you've brought our attention to before, isn't really one that they like to bring out. Ghost Army played it a lot more, they're a lot more comfortable on it. LDL, they were able to give a really good game for it. And it was down to a couple of hero plays, like you say, from Ghost Army to bring it back. QLF going to be one of those key players for me. But going on tonight, Haven Labs, I'm expecting it to be a little bit closer. LDL, a little bit more confident because I think when the last time we saw these teams playing up against each other on this map, if I'm not mistaken, it went in favor of LDL, and that was a 7-2 victory. So going on to this, I'm quite excited. I don't really know what to expect, but speaking of expectations, let's see what the community think and what some of the staff do as well. Cost of predictions that we didn't run through at the start. Very, very confident in favor of Ghost Army, and ignore the icons because that is Ghost Army. It's just a very yellow ghost. Don't worry about it. The staff team a little bit more split though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little bit more split than I was expecting. I think obviously a lot of things here, obviously with how one-sided the previous game between these two was within ESA itself. I was expecting it to be very much more one-sided. There we go. Never mind. Okay, correction. 77% Ghost Army, much more one-sided in their favor. I think that's what I expected to see from this one. Now, I don't think that's quite indicative of how close of a game we have been having so far. I did expect this one to be quite close. I still think that Valour could certainly take us all the way towards a map 3 of border over there. So, of course, I think we're going to have to wait and see with this one, but I certainly do think the predictions there justify the expectations for this one.
Yeah, that's the thing. I can see it's going to a map 3, but I think we'll know very quickly whether we are or not because LDL, they struggled to get started in that last game. I feel like the early round on the attack, the late round of the defense, that's when they really just started to crumble. It was the make or break for a round for them. So seeing if they're able to adjust that and change it on once they're on their comfort pick, once they're on the map that they want to be on, that's where I'm really going to see the difference, if that makes sense. Got on to Nighthaven Labs, our second out of a possible 3 maps where Ghost Army have the opportunity to send LDL Valor to that lower bracket, and Ghost Army the opportunity to put themselves through to the upper bracket final, and only within touching distance of the grand final. Operator Bands, Travi, take us through them.
Oh, operator bands indeed. Well, as always, we're not quite on Siege X just yet, so we're going to be doing things the old-fashioned way. Taking out an attacker first, it's going to be Ghost Army, and they are going to be getting rid of the Blackbeard yet again. I feel like a broken machine at this point. Say it time and time again. Blackbeard, he's powerful, he's scary, he's annoying to deal with. I really don't like going against him in my ranked games. Yeah, no surprise to see Blackbeard getting rid of here. He's annoying. Is the simple answer there. No more
Yeah.
Blackbeard. Bye-bye. He will not be played in this one. Most banned operator in ESA for a reason.
Yeah, joining them is going to be Blitz again. These 2 operators, yeah, like you say, it's a broken record. I mean, you think about Nighthaven Labs, there's a lot more choke areas that can really be exploited by a good defense, by a good attacking team using those operators. So you take them out of the equation, you don't deal with them. For example, I think about Chalet, and I think about that Ghost Army attack for that top floor that probably did have a Blitz or it did have a Blackbeard incorporated into it some way that was taken away so that LDL had a much more confident time defending it and were able to win it out. Kato on the defense is going to join them, forcing the Blackbeard, forcing that mute pick for that bottom floor, and that makes a lot more sense as well. Forcing a bandit trick, and most importantly, forcing them to be exposed to a Maverick if they want to stop that breach from going off. Now, the last defender to join them, that is going to be T-Burrell. Makes a lot of sense based on what we've just seen, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, he was bought extensively throughout the last game. I mean, admittedly, it was one bought by both sides last game. Both teams really did quite like to play in. However, obviously, this time around, he's not going to be played at all. Going to be banned out there. And I think that's a fair bit to say. Valour, they did have that issue. Both teams, actually, to be fair, had a bit of an issue with time management at times. There were certain rounds where just time management was not really going their way. And Tubrel was a big instrumental factor for that. So, it's a fair ban to be taken off the board there. And, well, speaking of fair, it's tried and true. Well, we're going to be heading up towards this top floor here on Nighthaven Labs. Fairly standard operator lineup. I'm looking at things here from the defensive side. Really curious to see what Atox can be getting going there with the Azami. Of course, an operator that was banned over on map number 1, but not going to be the same here. We know how impactful she can be, and I'm really excited to see her finally get some play here.
It's definitely being brought up in the rafters. I mean, that's the position where, like on Clubhouse and on this map, that it really just has all of its utility. You can play behind there, you can force pixel angles that you want to hold over towards that door, over towards that basement. It lets you be a lot more specific about the angles you peek and a lot more secure from the ones you go into. It's the mirror that I'm really looking to as the kind of key operator in this round. I mean, Yusuke bringing out that mirror, not surprising for me, because you think about connector. That is a position that without a mirror window is very difficult to defend if you try and go for that open plan. Attackers can get right up against it, get in the cover from that electrical side because there's a hard wall between them, and that's when they can start to get the util down. Put the mirror there, put the head holes there, and that suddenly stops that from being an option. That's why I'm going to look towards Luna Wall a lot more. We saw Zachariah on the Ash, didn't really have much utility with that operator. Luna Wall took it over, did a little bit better, but the question is how much is it going to fare now that we are going to take that role from the start. We're going to open that connector wall, and it means that Yusuke is going to start feeling some pressure, but nothing too strong at the moment. Yashiro signing things off very, very confidently. Will jump out, finds Zachariah, not a Claymore, not a refrag in sight, Travi.
Nope, not at all. And you know what? That's Ghost Army. They're really bringing in the confidence that they had in that initial map, and they're now bringing it forwards here onto map number 2. They want to open up this one up with a little bit of a bang. They want to open this game up with a statement. QLF already tempting fate here, top of blue stairs, looking for yet another run out. There's going to be no one outside of there. But Yusuke, look at this behind the mirror window. Ashard's going to come on through, is going to destroy it, but position still be held. Atox looking to get aggressive on it, using those keeper barricades, putting that as army to good use, facilitating a mid-round reinforcement. Genius use of utility there from Ghost Army. The wall will get open nonetheless, but by having that wall closed off, it is going to make things just a little bit harder for the attacking side there.
Yeah, essentially it's going to flip around. The mirror window's taken away, but they still have the opportunity to hold that angle. The hack wall will get opened up, and Atox will find Lunar Wall as well. That troublesome Ash taken away, but Yusuke drops down. Ghost Army, they have been making LDL fight for every little thing that they can get so far. Both of these teams have played each other before on this map, so it's not surprising that they're a little bit expectant of how the other team's going to play. C4 goes out, but it doesn't find its mark from Yashiro. But that doesn't matter. The damage from that mute has already really been done. Maverick and Ash taken off the board already. That puts it down to half Chiron and Unsert to really make something work with the last 50 seconds. Creepar comes out from electrical. Time ticks down, but the shotgun close that Mossberg. That's just going to shut down anyone who tries to walk through there, even if they find a kill onto Yusuke. Very aggressive with the shotgun. The shotgun peeks out and the shots ring out, but they don't find their mark just yet. And with 30 seconds left, the choke points Travi. This is going to be the problem. The EMP goes through. Atox blinded, finds a kill. The refrag comes out onto Atox, but then Yashiro's there with the shotgun again. And it's all down to half, and so we'll find Sinzu looking for a QLF play here with 20 seconds left in connector.
Yeah, 1v3s. We've seen them done once today. We almost saw a 1v4 creep through as well, but with 15 seconds to go, locked out of sight by a crossfire. Unfortunately, this time it's not going to be happening for Valour and Ghost Army. Going to be getting their defensive side off to quite a strong start there with a pretty showing on round number 1 there. And what I really like to see from them was that capitalization on the one thing Valour have been struggling with heaps on their attack, and that's the early round. Getting aggressive early on, sending players outside in the first couple minutes of the round. That is exactly what Valour have been struggling with through Chalet, and it's good to see that Ghost Army have not only realised that, but they're taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, because why not? No claymores, no refrag there. That was a free kill going out onto possibly one of the most influential operators they could have had. The Maverick taken away on that top floor. They were there to deal with the IT wall. That meant that when they got taken away, all the utility had really been focused over towards getting the connect side open, getting the mirror windows off the board. And as a result, LDL Valour, they had to go for a one-dimensional attack. Yes, they had electrical, but that's where you saw that crossfire really played. Pushing rafters just pushed into a lot of utility they hadn't even dealt with, so then they decided to avoid that. Basement's where we're going to find ourselves next, Travi, and coming down to this situation, we're going to see a very heavy road setup again. I mean, you can see the Solace with the shotgun. Think about that vertical floor. Think about the amount of damage that a Solace can do in storage if they lose that site. If the plant starts going down, it's pretty much a game over. All you need is one Solace with a shotgun, and they can end it all entirely. Deimos is going to come out. Lunar Wall, I'm hoping to see a little bit more work, especially with this Dokkaebi, to get these roamers dealt with. LDL Valour, they struggled with it on Chalet. They're going to need to tighten that up if they want to see themselves go onto our third map of Border.
Yeah, and the thing is, Valour, they've got the committal to this utility as well, right? Not only is it the Deimos, he's not going on his own roam hunting. He's supported by a Dokkaebi, he's supported by an Ash, and no doubt Harv will be nearby as well, applying that vertical pressure that you can already see being applied to Yashiro down here below in storage. Looking up from down below onto towards that soft floor being opened up now, but not going to find anything on the back of that. Instead, it's going to be Sinzu taking down Chiron there, just caught completely unaware, and Ghost Army continuing their strong starts to these defenses. And then that's yet again the Ash going on. It feels like a little bit of a bad omen at this point for Valour. They lose that Ash, they lose that entry operator quite early on, and Atox, well, look at this running around here, and so many defensive members over on the side of Ghost Army holding onto this top floor, aggressive at just keeping the players in the positions held. And look at that vertical, it's being used. Zachariah does eventually find one over towards Sinzu, but it's only a leveling out there. It's still a 4 versus 4 here, and there's still players of the Ghost Army on this top floor. Does Half have any idea that he's about to walk into QLF? I'm not entirely sure. QLF still moving about, still running through, but with halfway to go in this round, it's 4 on 4, and QLF getting shot down. That's going to be a big issue for Ghost Army.
Right, yeah, this is the big opening for LDL Valour here. If they can capitalize upon this, then that gives them a really good opportunity to hit that site. They spot Atox going up blue stairs, and as a result, now they can hit. If they know these players are not on site, they can hit it fast, they can hit it hard, and hopefully overpower Yusuke. But with Atox's position given away, especially by the Dokkaebi, by the drones, they're going to be forced towards kitchen. They can't rotate back to site straight away. The rest of the attackers, though, they realize that they have not got as much time to work with. A minute left on the clock, and yes, they've got the top floor, but they haven't really got much else of that. Yasuki will find Uncertain. Yashiro finds an answer of their own. Lunar Wall taken down. The J-Mos to follow, and now the player advantage in favor of the defense. This is tossing and turning with every layer of this map that we're seeing so far. Are LDL Valour going to be able to make it turn again when they start hitting the site? Well, they've got to get there first. The Rams start doing the work. The Doggery of Zacharias looking to try and find a kill to really back things up from it. But 30 seconds left. It's not looking good. Ghost Army, they're going to start locking in these positions and getting these crossfires because look at that case. All alone in Animus, all by themselves. And Yasuke going for the peak. They shouldn't. Is able to find half. Yeah, Zacharias might be able to find a kill through the beams in storage. But realistically, this round is as good as done.
Yeah, 10 seconds up above. You can take down your Shiro there, but yet again, it's just going to be one of those picks you're going to get for 3 now. I don't think the 1 versus 3. You've got 1 behind, 1 in front. Yasuki's going to be the one to clear it out, and it's just yet another strong round for Ghost Army there, capitalizing on what they do best. The strong early start to the round there, swinging from the get-go, keeping Valour guessing as to where the players are. I mean, we saw it there, that player hiding in that sort of cafeteria area. Yeah. They were there, they were hiding, and Valour, they had zero idea that there was a player there, and it was just an absolute freebie there. Ghost Army, it did feel like them getting into that 2 versus 3 situation. Maybe they shouldn't have gotten away with that. I think Valour definitely let it slip there, and I think that's really where the downfall began in that round, because it really costed them. And Ghost Army, they're trailing round, building up a really early lead here, and now they head towards tertiary bomb site. And this, for me, is the opportunity for the attack to start to get a statement in here. This is the one that they should be winning. Whether they can or not, for Valour, something's going to need to change.
See, that's my concern here. Is we were talking about LDL, they want to go into their map to get confidence, get comfortable, and do what they do best, which is win, because they can win. They have won. They've done it yesterday even. They won a league yesterday in a grand final. But Ghost Army, by getting this aggressive, by being this kind of in your face, and not giving LDL the space that they need to kind of get that confidence, to get comfortable. Ghost Army, they are playing aggressive, they're playing strong, and they are, like I say, they are there from the get-go. They are there putting pressure, and they're most importantly letting LDL play into them. When LDL are pushing into Ghost Army, that's when they're losing these gunfights. That's when they're getting a little bit uncomfortable. But when they let Ghost Army come to them, that's when they're still not able to win it out. This is a very, very difficult situation for LDL to be in. Now, though, we are going to see a tertiary site come through. It's going to be that storage area and command room. Essentially, again, another top floor hold, but a lot more focus over towards this garage side, which is why Sintu and Yasuki have committed a lot more utility towards it. LDL Valour, they need to take the vert. They cannot afford not to, because look at what's being done here by Yashiro. Look at all the lines of sight being made.
And as well, you get to that end round there, you're pushing on to the objective, you need to clear this vertical, because otherwise you're going to be pushing in just guessing. Luna is going to be taken down from outside there. Pokeball comes on through to try and claim the elimination, can't quite find it. And Atox, oh, unfortunate here, and knows probably it's just better to not jump out there. Harv is watching it, not going to let anyone jump out there, and the revive for Valour should be able to come through quite safely there, get the player back up, and sure, it's not ideal. Luna's quite low HP now, but at least you've kept them alive. Same can't be said for Zachariah, though. Goes down to Atox there, and it's a good start for Ghost Army yet again, and it gets even better as Atox finds the second one over towards Luna. And yet again for Valour, it's a 3 versus 5, a 2-man deficit they're going to have to claw back from, and they've not even begun to think about dealing with this top floor hold yet.
Exactly, so now they need to deal with that with 3 players on the board, but with Uncertain and Atox each finding a kill. It's now 4 versus 2. The defenders can keep that verticality, but aware that these attackers may have started to put pressure on the site, then they can start to rotate down. They can start to use the verticality. Atox is able to find their 4th kill in this round so far. Looking to make it 5, but Sinzu's going to be the one to deny it. But Ghost Army, what a round. Atox, what a performance by Gargo there. Able to down that Twitch, get down HP, taken off for that late round, and then deal with the IQ as well before they finished off Twitch again. It was LDL trying to make something out of this information, trying to get something coordinated and something that could go in their favor. That Atox was just there to shut down. And with the Vector, the ACOG, you really can't contest somebody who is hitting their shots. Atox definitely did there. And a third player really step up in terms of frags so far. Yashiro and QLF have really had their moments, but that was Atox's 100%.
Yeah, Atox just doing a great job there. I mean, quad killing around, you can't deny the impact that one's going to have. And for Ghost Army, a full site rotation completed flawlessly as well. They're going to be in a great position here. Now, for Valour, the pressure's got to start to be building. And that's where I worry, because as the pressure built in the previous map, that's where Valour really seemed to struggle. That's where they almost felt like they were crumbling and sort of ripping apart at the seams a little bit there. The minute the game got a bit later on and we started seeing match point at the top of our screens, Valour started to get a bit over-aggressive. They started swinging things that maybe perhaps they shouldn't be swinging, and I do have to panic a little bit for them in this situation. They need to get some attacking rounds on the board here, because if it just continues and Ghost Army get a 5-1 or even a 6-0 half, this one might be over quite early on.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Ghost Army are able to translate this aggression onto their attacking side, then I feel like it might not matter, even if they do get 4 rounds on the board. But here's the thing, like you say, LDL Valour on the attack now. They cannot afford to lose any more rounds, because if they do, like you say, they go into that round, that defensive side of their own on a deficit against a team that is feeling very, very comfortable. Now you can see Zachariah's going to start putting pressure over towards Garage. We'll try and rotate these players around, and this is what I wanted to see in the first round we saw. We're seeing different approaches, different attempts to try and catch players off guard. So that IT gets open up, the pressure towards Garage is there. And now you're seeing why we're bringing Gazami, why Atox is being able to bring out that operator. Just look at that utility. They're adjusting, they're adapting, and they're ready. First time we're going to see the Monty in this game so far is going to be over towards that fish side. Look at applying the pressure and just mean that Ghost Army can't swing around to deal with Raptors window. They can't deal with a player that might take control of that Raptors area. And that's a really nice thing that I'm liking that I'm seeing so far. But Monty doesn't really have any support. So if Ghost Army decide to overpower the Monty, they might be able to do so. Lunar Wall not going to be in a great spot to kind of counter that. A minute 35 left on the clock. Harbor's taken some damage, but LDL haven't really made any gains onto the site so far, aside from getting that IT wall open. Time ticking down, and this is really the crunch point. This is where it's got to change here, Trav.
Yeah, this is it. They've done well compared to the standards so far to keep all 5 players alive throughout this early round here. With Montaigne knocking up as well on the door of the objective, it puts Atox in a really difficult spot right now. But we've seen how good he's been on the elimination game so far, and I don't doubt that perhaps putting him in this spot could be troublesome here for the attacking team. Yoshiro looking to get aggressive, extends back out towards electrical here. But the defense, they're just not being shaken here. It feels like LDL, they're applying a lot of pressure right now, but they're not really able to take anything off of the back of it. Ghost Army, all 5 members still standing, and how about that? They take one from the side of Valour as well. Take down a second. Atox with another over towards Zachariah. It's now a 3 versus 5 here. Felt pressure on that Montaigne mounting up. He's going to go down, as will the rest of the team. And Ghost Army, a flawless round, a 4-0 lead here on their opponent's map pick. Storming through this defensive side, storming through this second map right now. And Valour, they're going to really have to dig deep in their pockets to find an answer to this one, because the shield, it was not the answer. And everything else they've brought so far has just been a struggle game for them, and it felt like Ghost Army, every possible turn, has had the answer.
Exactly. I mean, here's the thing. LDL Valour, they were applying the pressure, like you said. They had the Verd, they had the Monty on the fish. The Monty maybe didn't get everything it could have done by playing that position, but with the Azami, it didn't have a choice. But the verticality was being made. LDL were getting what they needed to. They were putting all the pieces in play that they had to, so that they could start applying that pressure. But there wasn't anything. I mean, Ghost Army, they were saying, oh, well, they're making verticality here. They've got a line of sight here. I'm just going to step away. There's not really anything that they're doing at the moment. So I can focus on my positioning for the late round. We can coordinate. Ghost Army felt very comfortable. They weren't really put that on the back seat that much by LDL. And as a result, that's where that comfort came from. That's where that very flawless, very confident round was executed. Back on the bottom floor, we're going to see Ghost Army going for that roaming again. Prox mines, bulletproof cameras, Fenrir gadgets, all this utility. Because you can see there's barely any setup being done on site as the round starts, because they're focusing on this mid-game. They delayed LDL incredibly well in the last time we were here. They're going to look to recreate that magic again. And you can see right there, it's going to be QLF looking to go for a little bit of a shine, but doesn't find its mark so far. In fact, will get picked down by Kyron. A good answer, and I think the first pick LDL have had in this map so far, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe it actually is there, and it's a little bit of a damning statistic right there, but, you know, you've got to give Valour credit. They get a little bit aggressive there, QLF. It does get punished for it, and speaking of aggressive, well, how about this angle from Yoshiro here? Played it right up close to the warehouse wall, tucked in close on the breach, looking to try and catch one of the Valour players off guard, and Atox as well. Didn't go for a run out earlier on in this round, didn't quite catch anything off the back of it, but looking for more here, fishing around. Death Mark's going to come through, not going to be able to hit its mark there. And sure, there might be a man down right now, but Ghost Army, I was going to say they're holding on, but Luna takes down Yoshiro, makes things a little bit worse for them. A 3 versus 5 right now. Atox needs to catch someone off guard, needs to get a 3B, because Valour, if they retreat in this 3 versus 5 situation, they're not going to be able to see this round all the way through. Instead, they're really going to need to try and take 1 or 2 of the Valour players down, then retreat back to the site, then it's a winnable round for them. However, Deathmark Jewel's going to be coming on through. Luna comes out on top. Elsewhere, though, Sinzu does get one. Atox with another as well. But the pressure's mounting up for this defensive team now, reduced to just 2. Atox decides to retreat. Sinzu up above. Plant's going down. What can this final defender do?
Well, they can jump down over towards Cargo. They don't realize the player's there. They can maybe go for the res, but they don't know that Grim is there. Cargo is able to find the 2 kills to close it down and get the first round in favor for LDL Valour. Hard won and hard fought. And again, as the penultimate round of this attacking side, I fear that it is just not enough. For me, that round there was really focused on the fact that Atox wasn't able to really pop off when it comes to the kind of mid-round in that position, because they dealt with Yashiro. The vigil was dealt with. And as the Dokkaebi got the cameras from the early kill onto QLF, which maybe they shouldn't have given away, okay, you can argue that, but they were feeling confident. The cameras were there. The vigil got a lot more important, and that's why the Deimos scan went onto them. But then I saw the scan go onto, I believe it was Sinzu or Yasuki. It was one of the players down below in Cargo. It wasn't onto Atox, which meant for me, Atox was undiscovered, because if you knew that player was on the roam, that's the Deimos' priority. They need to deal with that player and take them off. If anything, that round for me, Travi, was Atox not really capitalizing on the vertical advantage they had, as opposed to LDL really winning it out. But aside from that, LDL, they need to take this as a morale boost. They've won a round, they've got one on the board, they need a second, and then you could kind of go into the mindset of, right, it's attack, a 4-2 split, we're where we need to be.
Yeah, that's it. A 4-2. It's not great. You know, there's no sugarcoating it. It's not ideal. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world either. A 4-2 is perfectly recoverable. 5-1 on the other hand, which is, you know, the 2 possibilities for this round here. That, I think, is a lot harder for Valour to be able to come back in from, and that is going to be much more difficult for them. So we'll have to see how the rest of this half pans out here. Of course, Ghost Army going to be doing same as what they've sort of been doing this entire time here, going for this very deep hold, this extended roam game, just trying to burn a lot of time, burn down the players of Valour as they come in. It does feel like Valour are finally getting a read onto it, finally being able to make some good use out of the Dokkaebi Deimos combo, but we need to see if they can do it a second time around to really prove they found that answer.
Yep, there won't be a third time. That's the important bit for me. A lot more aggressive, a lot more kind of confident pushing into that garage side, because look at it, they've realized, like you said, got a bit of a lock-in into how Ghost Army play this. The garage hatch is open. They could just drop down. A lot of roamers are here, just like before, and the Dokkaebi scan and Deimos scan will confirm that. Sinzu will get spotted away. The crossfire will come out and half finds that opening kill. LDL looking strong again. Are they able to keep that going? Well, we'll find out. The Cargo player of Atox going to take some damage as you see QLF start to drop down. And that's going to be half taken down. The Ram taken down up above. That's a huge kill, but QLF gets another. Cargo taken down. And a 5-1 split starting to switch around. The Deimos scanner has to come through. It will find Solus, but that'll be QLF dropping down. They have to rely on the rest of their team to get this player taken away. And remember, they could be focusing on the wrong thing. A little bit too tunnel visioned, and they might not spot the player over towards game. I believe is Shiro waiting as a snake in the grass. Vertical with the DMR will start to come through because they've lost the Ram. They have to use that DMR to use it, and that takes away a lot of ammo that they could use in the late round. But look at that, 1 minute left. Legion's still alive. Solus can look above and deal with any utility, any droners that are in the wrong spot at the wrong time. This could go horribly for LDL if they do not lock in.
They have zero idea that Yashiro's playing there. Uncertain, zero idea, but it's good on the gunfire anyway. That is going to be an unfortunate one there for Yashiro in the best possible position. Not quite able to make the gunshots connect, and that is going to be costly there for the side of Ghost Army. We're back to a 3 versus 3 though, which is still a winnable position here for the defense. Final death mark's going to come through. We've seen how valuable they can be, and Luna is going to be able to prove that once again. Takes down Yasuki, and now it's just defense down to Atox and QLF. They've been so great so far, but with 20 seconds to go on the clock, they've got the clock on their side as well, but they don't have the man count. Luna with the Vendetta, a triple, I believe, in that one. And for the side of LDL, Valour is a sign of life, a sign that they're still here to play. Sure, it might be a little bit late, but welcome to the game, because this second half, this is the opportunity now. This is that golden ticket to turn things back around. You're coming out of that half. Sure, you lost it, but you've got the momentum. You won the final 2 rounds of it. Take that momentum, keep it in your sails, bring it into the first couple rounds of these defensive halves, win 2 or 3 rounds off the bat, and you're back in the lead, you're back in control, and Valour, they can start to look to take their own map pick.
Exactly. This is kind of make or break here for LDL Valour, because if they do not capitalize upon this Ghost Army, they're going to get back into the swing of things. On the attack, it's harder said than done, which, like you say, is why LDL Valour need to make the most of this opportunity. Get that momentum, they start to even things out. Keep that rolling even further, and they can find themselves on that match point. And we could go to our third map, and our first third map inside the playoffs so far. Time ticks down, top floor. We're seeing a pretty standard setup for the side of LDL Valour. They don't want to disrupt the flow too much and status quo. They're just going to go with what they know works and what they need to do. The big thing for me, how is this early round going to play out? Because Ghost Army, they were strong. LDL Valour, they struggled in the late round. Are they going to adjust that up by getting more aggressive at the start, by getting a little bit more confident and a little bit more cocksure with some of these plays? That's the big thing I want to focus on how LDL Valour play. Ghost Army, let's see how they respond to the defense.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, right? This half is very much going to be, I feel like, a little bit of a reset of things here for this game. Both of these teams, it's that real test, it's that real opportunity. Ghost Army, a couple quick rounds off the start, and this game is probably quite safely in their hands here. Zachariah, hiding up close to the wall, thinking about the bandit trick, but unfortunately prone at the time, unable to quite get it off quick enough. Going to be forced to retreat away there. Connect wall opened up quite early on there by the attacking team. Ghost Army just need to keep this pace up throughout the round and sail it on all the way through towards a victory. Of course, a lot of walls to get open here on Nighthaven Labs, so a bit of time before we'll start seeing them make a push in towards the objective. Cow on Hive, got a little bit of intel here. As the defense for Valour, this time around, it's a lot more reserved than what we saw from Ghost Army. They're playing a little bit closer. Hello, mid-round barricade, and that's a freebie for QLF. Iron. Why?
You don't peek it. You don't hold it unless you're trying to deal with a rush. That's not useful at all. Atox will be taken down by a C4, but will be picked up very quickly. Chiron, however, like I say, that's not coming back. That is a Warden. And when you look at some of the utility on this site, they've got the flashbangs on Yasuke for Ghost Army. They've been known to bring out the Ying. Is that really the play they want to go for? A bit of damage does go out. Ludowall doesn't find a kill onto Yasuke. Yashiro's going to find Zachariah, though. And now LDL Valour, things starting to fall apart a little bit. They still have half to cover that blue, but as the air jab does go off, the C4 finds Yasuke. Very nicely done, and now Unsert trying to get aggressive, isn't able to find it. QLF, the R4C, the ACOG, the Demon Machine is able to find another head, and we'll be looking for two more. As 1 minute ticks down on the clock, Travi, and LDL Valour, this is make or break now.
This is so important they hold on here, but it's going to be difficult to do so. Look at how much HP Luna has left. Anything at all in this game, any little bit of damage, and that's enough to remove you from this lobby. You need to make sure you're hitting those shots. You need to make sure you're aiming for the head. Half watching the flank elsewhere, because with so few Valour players left, their attention's going to be split. Half does get one back over towards Atox there, makes this 1v4 into a 1 versus 3. Goes towards the prone punch hole here, but the attack, they're going to start to come in. Intel's going to be fed by the drone, so they know what to expect now. Going to swing out back to the wall, do get Sintu, do get them down, and effectively makes it a 1 versus 1 for a very brief second as the plant goes down, but now it's stuck all the way through. 2 versus 1 now. Valour, 2 kills away from clutching this one back up. What a mental boost it would be for Half, but Ghost Army, surely they don't give this one away. Surely they don't let it slip through the cracks. No, they will not. QLF denies the clutch, and Ghost Army started their attack in half. The win.
Yeah, the absolute clutch demon themselves able to shut that down and give Ghost Army a much-needed win. On the most favored defender's site at that point, realistically, I mean, that was really well played from Ghost Army. They were tight, they were locked in, and they were where they needed to be. I mean, QLF was holding the fish side. I said, Trevi, early round was going to be a key for me. Chiron fell very quickly, and we saw another player drop just as fast as well. Ghost Army, they not only got the picks, but they got the utility. They got the key positions dealt with very quickly. They felt very certain of what they were doing. LDL Valour, they felt confident as well, but they just weren't able to back it up when it comes down to these gunfights. So they are going to find themselves staring down the barrel of a perfect game if they lose this next round. If they lose this top floor site, then it's match point. Ghost Army, they're 1 round away from knocking LDL down to that bottom bracket. And again, we're going to see a 2-0 victory in favor of one of these two teams. But LDL, they need to make sure that that just doesn't happen. The big thing now, Ghost Army, if they win this map, LDL Valour, they're not going to go to this site again. If you don't win it once, that's fine. You try it again. If you don't win it a second time, do not go there. It's not working. Try something else. And especially on match point when you don't have the rounds to really waste, this is the round. This is the round that they have to win. And even if they do, they have to go down below. Ghost Army, they're feeling very strong as they go in for the second attempt of attacking this side. You see the bandit trick is there to start things out. Yusuke will bait out one of those bandit charges, but it's not really going to waste anything just yet. It's not like a tubby charge where they're not used again. Zakaraka just picked those up. They've just got to wait.
Yeah. And that's it. It's this little game, and it's the little things for Valour right now, right? This bandit trick and A being successful this time, and also Chiron not sticking his head outside for a little bit of a view early on. These little details here are what are going to carry Valour through to this round. They know what went wrong previously, and they know how to make the adjustments just from this early round alone. That much is clear. They are learning from their mistakes, and Ghost Army, well, they're now going up against what is definitely a stronger defensive hold this time around. Valour, they know a bit more of what to expect. They know exactly what they're going to be stacking up against. Question is, how can they respond into it? And so far, so good. Unsert getting quite aggressive here, sees the Grim outside, doesn't think to take the gunfight here, and that's what I want to see from Valour right now. They've been taking a lot of unnecessary gunfights so far this game, and it's good to see them finally holding back a little bit here and not taking them so early on.
Yeah, and a very necessary gunfight is the one you're about to see over towards IT. You can see that Zakurai has rotated around to try and get a utility off the board, and then keep that utility off the wall, but they're not going to be able to. The IT wall will open up as Zakurai gets picked off by QLF down below. Again, looking over towards this fish side, making sure that Chiron does not try and barricade it up, because they shouldn't, especially with that player deficit. That's the wrong decision to make. There's very few of them in Siege, but that is categorically the wrong choice. Now, though, a lot more pressure has been applied to half. You now have to focus between Garage down below, the Raptors window, and that IT breach as well. They cannot allow any of those positions to fall, because if they do, they're going to get pinched, and they have very little chance to pull back. A lot of utility over towards engineering electrical as you see the rotate jump through. Unsit has the C4 ripped, doesn't find its mark just yet, doesn't land it because they have time. It gets a lot more valuable the later into the round. The mirror window does open, does get opened up by the breach. The C4 doesn't go out, Uncertain keeps it in their pocket. Actually, they don't. It actually got shot mid-air by Yashiro. As they jump in, 30 seconds left on the clock. Ghost Army, they're going to have to start funneling in through electrical and through connector. This is going to end in one way because 9 players in the lobby, 20 seconds left, Travi. It's going to be a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath. All players of Ghost Army forced to go through this funnel point, but they can't even get through to start with. Uncertain Luna coming up huge to hold on here. Chiron supporting, but one of them goes down 3 versus 3. But look at the clock at the top of the screen. McCready, 10 seconds to go. Yasuki gets one, goes huge. Luna is holding on, though, immediately traded back. Harv and Sinzu in a 1 versus 1. But with the clock against the attack here, they can do nothing. And Valour barely, just ever so barely, hold on to the top floor. That real 6th defender of that clock is the big factor there. Ghost Army, they had to push in through very limited options with limited time, and that's exactly the issue with time management. And that has plagued both these sides a little bit here. Ghost Army definitely feels like more so because that round, they were in a good position for it. They were in a really, really comfortable spot. But then the clock hits, the time hits, the funnel hits, and what can they do at that point? Not much.
Yeah, I feel like the IT push was really good coming out from Yusuke because they were able to put that pressure on from another angle. It's a little bit late, though. If they were quicker, yes, they would have still had to deal with the player of, I believe it was Harv. But if they were a little bit earlier, then they could have put that pressure over towards the electrical side. They could have got Uncertain, they could have got Luna. But the shotgun, the Mossberg, it shows why it's so deadly in that close range. And LDL Valour will get their first round on the defense. Heading down to this bottom floor site, like I said, they need to make sure that they can win this one. Because if they don't, they're going to match point. Again, the stakes are so high. And for LDL Valour, that's just not going to change. So we need to see them to lock down a lot more. Valkyrie being brought out, a very nice pick. I very much like this because we talk about the verticality. 2 C4s in pocket on the defensive lineup is no mean feat. They can still get at least 2 kills, at the very least, if each of those land true. More if they're lucky. Ghost Army, got to focus on this road.
Yeah, that's it. Got to focus on this roam clear, and the key thing here is do it quick. Don't let it take so long. Don't let it burn so much time. Just keep it slow, keep it paced, or keep it pacey rather. Don't let it get too slow, because otherwise you're going to be in the exact same situation you were in about 2 minutes ago for the side of Ghost Army. They've got the tools to do it. They've got a Jackal and a Deimos there, perfect for roam hunting. Valour, they're not committing to it quite as much as we saw Ghost Army do on their defensive side, but there's still those players running around. Chiron hiding away in cargo as well. certainly there. A little bit of a spot could be difficult to deal with for the attack, but right now Harv as well in storage. But Zachariah is going to be the one to actually get the first pick there. Sinzu's going to be the one to fall, unfortunately, off the back of that. And that's the ace. That's the hard breach taken off the board. Still do have some can openers in the pocket of the Deimos, but Zachariah's on a tear. He needs to be dealt with first as Yusuke falls. Ghost Army, their attacks are off to a troublesome start here.
Yeah, Zachariah in a very difficult position now because with that Deimos scan, the ping comes out and Ghost Army are going to be ready for it, but they need to be aware of these other players. Harv will take some damage, doesn't get taken off the board just yet, and Zachariah, that thorn in the side of Ghost Army, especially in these opening rounds when they have that MP5 in their pocket, is still going to stay alive and stay at that full HP. Half the round off the board, 3 attackers left, still dealing with this verticality. The IQ's been taken away. I want to point that out. That's a very big one. Yes, Jackal, and yes, Deimos is still alive, but the IQ is gone. The Valkyrie cameras are still going to be there. 2 C4s are still in pocket. It's a really good opportunity as 1 C4 goes out. It's going to be Atox finding the kill just before the Stim can catch them. The C4 doesn't find its mark as it does go off, and the Foxminer kill goes through. Drones start to move forward. We'll look to support the rest of the push over towards Cargo here, as they need to try and get at least 2 angles of attack, because if they could do that, they can divide the much more numerous LDL Valour. The Vid, again, coming out from Atox, not finding its mark, but constantly applying the pressure to the defenders. They don't know where they can stay. They don't know where they're safe. They don't know, when they're trying to avoid this player above, they don't know if they're being flanked. And that's the big thing. But 30 seconds ticking down, Trav. They need to find themselves, like you say, in these funnel positions.
That's it. They need to get in there and do it now. And the thing is, for Ghost Army there on the vertical, imagine if they had 2 more players alive. Imagine if they kept Yusuke or just one of them alive. So much more pressure could be applied. But that's ifs, buts, and maybes. What we're going to focus on now is the final 15 seconds on this one. And yet again, Ghost Army with the clock against them just have to push in and try and get the elims here. QLF down the staircase finds one, but unaware of the second one through the softball. Atox fighting for his life. Over towards Animus, gets one. Uncertain. Trades it back with a C4 dominant in a 2 versus 2. All Uncertain needs to do is hide, but no, the defuse is going down, and the difference is this time there is cover. This time there is someone to stick it through, and QLF comes up massive for the side of Ghost Army. They're going to take themselves not only map point, not only match point as well, but this is the point now will get them qualified through into the upper bracket final, a guaranteed top 3 finish in ESA Cup. And while I don't think that's where they're going to stop aiming, they're obviously going to want more to get this position so early on, all the way through the upper bracket. They're going to be so happy to get it, and only 1 round stands in their way.
That's the big thing. Here's the big difference, Travi, for me. Ghost Army win the next round, on the site that they have just won, by the way, a very close one, but they have just won it down into the last area by some massive plays coming out from some of these roam clearers and some really good coordination and positioning. Here's the big thing. If LDL get knocked down, they then have to go to the lower bracket quarterfinals. Not the lower bracket final, not the lower bracket semi-final. If they get knocked out of this one, they have at least 3 more games to play if they want to get to that grand final. That is a big ask, because if they do not make that, if they make that happen, they might just go up against Ghost Army again, who, on the contrary, if they win this match, this series, and the next, they're in the grand final. The winner of this game plays 1 more game before they find themselves in the grand final. The loser will play at least 3. That is a big difference. It allows whoever wins this game, and it's looking like Ghost Army at the moment, because we haven't seen that tertiary site. It allows whoever wins this series to get a lot of information and a lot of prep about their opponents. I feel like these 2 teams, they are going to really take advantage of that. Now, though, let's focus on the here now, because like you say, there is nothing certain until that timer hits 0. And that's where we're going to see LDL really start to encapsulate this. They're going to have to fight against the Dying of the Night, the perfect game of Rainbow Six Siege, to push them not only to a 3rd map, not only to keep them in this upper bracket, but to just get them to overtime, Trav.
That's it. It's a small step, but it's a necessary one nonetheless for Valour. And 3 flawless rounds, or 3 rounds in a row rather, going to be required to get the job done. It's like sort of start than we used to seeing here so far this series. A minute into the round and all 10 players still left standing. Zachariah wanting to get in engagements there, try and change that a little bit. Gets down, gets stimmed back up. Still in a real difficult spot. Is eventually going to finish off there by Atox. Ghost Army, 4 more players standing in their way. Zachariah down with the dock taken off the board here. this hold got a lot more difficult here for the side of Valour. And as you can see, most of the players, at the back of that loss, they're just going to be retreating away. They're just going to play a little bit safer, play it a bit safer towards that objective position here, because the death marks with the Ram, with the Jackal, holding this site. We saw it in the previous round with just 3 members of Ghost Army alive. What happens when all 5 have the ability to capitalize off of that? Well, all 5 means there's more targets for those C4. Luna takes down Yoshiro there and equalizes us up at 4-4.
Yeah, the big kill there as they take away the Ram. They take away a lot of vertical pressure. But for me, Trevor, it's all down to Zach. That big player, while they may not have got a lot of kills in this map so far, have done really well with impact kills. Really good at setting the pace in favor of LDL in the rounds where they get those opening picks, and a really big thorn in the side. Ghost Army struggled to clear this player out, and they're now dealt with. So with 50 seconds left on the clock, they're going to start panicking a little bit. So Ghost Army, they're going to look to take some of this vertical gunfire. It's going to be Unsit finding 2 kills with the C4, and it flips it in favor of the defense. And now, as you do see, I believe Sinzo dropping down, and Aethos trying to do the vert. It's going to come down all the way to Deimos. Chiron and Luna, whoa! They felt the pressure, they rose to it, and each pick up a kill to keep them in it. But what a C4 from Sunset. Huge round winning even.
Single press of a button on that C4, and it opens the round, keeps the game afloat here for the side of LDL Valour. Now, I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be, a bit negative about this, but I feel I've got to be a realist about this. You've won the basement. Right. So far on the side of Valour, you've just about won a top floor once. Just about done it, which is where they're going to return up to. After this, what comes next, though? You can go to the tertiary site, or you can go to the kitchen site that nobody's played. I'm a little bit worried for Valour still, but you know what? Sometimes we've seen it from them where that little bit of momentum that goes their way, you give them an inch and they're just going to take a mile off the back of it. Valour, this could be the start of something here, but they need to cement it in and really repeat what they did there, because they can't rely on Unsert going huge again. That much is for certain. You can't rely on a C4 getting multiple kills to bring you out of the jaws of defeat every single time. This is where the fundamentals need to step up. And that boost to your mental, that's exactly what I'm hoping to see it inspire.
Exactly. Now, as you see, Ghost Army, like I say, that match point, LDL Valour only now 2 rounds away from evening things out and pushing us to overtime. This round, the last time we saw it, just to remind yourselves, like you mentioned, was very close. It came down to time, and it came down to the fact that Ghost Army just didn't have enough bodies in position to cover a flank going down. That meant that the clock was able to get run down and just drop out in the end. LDL Valour, they have a little bit of pressure over towards that meeting room side, a little bit of pressure towards electrical, but Ghost Army, how are they going to start this out? Are they going to say, okay, let's keep our control, let's keep our momentum, and let's get in fast? Or are we going to slow things down, think about it, not give away anything that we shouldn't? How that's going to happen, we're going to find out very soon in about 3 minutes' time, whether we go into another round or whether we find ourselves back on the caster camera screens. Electrical will open up. The bandit isn't there in time to stop this breach from getting open, will be forced off this position, but that means they keep their charges in position for IT. The big job now is they need to get around and deal with the utility so that you can see Yasuki get that IT side open. Bandit will have time to rotate because those charges are still there, and that means that it's going to be a lot more work required from Ghost Army and particularly QLF to get that dealt with. Again, Sakurai not had a great track record when it comes to taking that gunfight in that IT side, so I'm not feeling like they should maybe go for it. Chiron over towards Fish. I'm not sure how I feel about this again, but they've not tried barricading it, so I'm okay with it for now. But they might get a little bit too aggressive here. They might give QLF a little bit too much, and like you say, give an inch, they'll take a mile. It goes to Ghost Army as well. One of those bandit charges will get taken down. Aware of the vertical play, Zachariah has to deal with it. They're not going to try the bandit trick right now, but as the ace charge goes down, that's surely going to get denied by Zachariah. But the contestant from down below is going to make sure that that doesn't happen. That IT wall gets opened up, and it's going to be done bloodlessly.
Yeah, and that surprises me, really, because I just caught Harv there with a Kiva barricade on towards the floor there, trying to deny that vertical pressure being applied. I don't know whether it missed or whether it didn't really seem to have the effect. I didn't hear it go off, at least. So I think it should be easy enough to get through for the attack going, and 55 seconds to go. Yet again, it feels like Ghost Army struggling with this clock a little bit here. They're still trying to deal with these walls, but look at how many C4s are in the pocket of Valour right now, rather. Breach is going to be attempting to get open here. Exothermic's going to go. It will eventually get the wall over. The C4 goes, doesn't quite hit its mark here, but 4 versus 5 here. Ghost Army, they're in a man disadvantage. They've only got 30 seconds to go. All Valour need to do is hold on to the time, play the trade game, and they will get themselves yet again all the way to the end of regulation. But Atox just sneaks into the objective, catches him totally unaware. Valour, they are collapsing, falling apart at the seams. Zachariah with it all to do and cannot do anything at all. And Ghost Army will take themselves a 2-0 game, take themselves their opponent's map pick, their own map pick, and they will get themselves in that upper bracket final and a single best of 3 away from a seat in the grand final itself.
Exactly. And LDL, they're going to be kicking themselves because that round was so close. They had all 10 players up with 50 seconds left, but like you see on the screen right there, Atox and Sinzu just walking through. The defenders, they had 5 players on the lobby. They had mirror windows available. They had information there. The question for me, why wasn't that being held? They knew the breach was open. They could have held it. Maybe the pressure got to them. Maybe they just weren't expecting it. But that's going to be it. They're going to be knocked down to that lower bracket, and now they're going to be playing in the elimination bracket because that does mean if they lose one more map, one more series, they will be taken away. So you can see right here, LDL, they're going to be joining the winners of NSYNC and Nexus and Crowd Zero and MG Minions. I believe I've got those teams right. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So they're going to be fine for their life every step of the way now. Ghost Army, like you say, Travi, they are going to book their seat in that upper bracket final, which is, as you can see, 1 game away from that all-important grand final for Season X of ESA. Travi, a very exciting game. Ghost Army very much leading the charge on that one, weren't they, overall?
And overall, they're leading the charge and really have done so far since Plus. I'm just looking at the previous game they played against Crown Zero, and I believe you're casting that one as well. And 7-2, 7-3. Ghost Army really having a great performance so far. We're pushed a little bit further today. Almost ended up in an overtime on map number 1. Comfortable-ish on map number 2, but still doing it 2-0, doing it without having to go to an overtime. Looking really, really good. And I've got a feeling whoever they go up against next, whether it's going to be Entropy, whether it's going to be MVG, whoever it is, it's going to be a tough game for them. And I could certainly see a world in where Ghost Army get themselves a quite smooth ticket and a smooth ride in towards that grand final.
Yeah, exactly. Now, LDL Valour, like we say, the other way it goes is that they are going to have to fight Crown Zero, or they're going to have to fight whoever wins Crown Zero versus Minions. That's going to be a tough battle, but it's one they can do. I mean, a lot of those rounds were close. A lot of them were good, and there were some really good moments in those rounds. They just need to be a little bit more consistent with it. I think the micro positioning is something that needs to get ironed out as well, because there were a couple of rounds that did get taken away from them or nearly got taken away that they should have won, and maybe we would have seen a different scoreline if that was more consistent across the board. But for them, that is going to be it. They are going to be knocked down, and they're just going to have to make sure that they can show that they can improve. Ghost Army, like you say, quite confident. Travi, that's going to be our game today. There's no more today, is there?
No, that is going to be it today. But good news is it's Monday, which means we've got plenty more games coming onwards your way this week. And best part is the next one is tomorrow. Same time, same place. Our other upper bracket semi-final game, Entropy Gaming versus Molotov Gang. The winner of that one will be going up against Ghost Army in a spot in the upper bracket grand final for that first grand final ticket. It's going to be exciting. Hopefully going to be a heater, and we may hopefully, fingers crossed, just finally see our first 3 map series here up in playoffs.
And Bosmax Infinite OT. It's got to happen at some point, doesn't it?
Has to.
I'm sure it will. Yeah, hopefully. Inevitably, let's be honest. But like you say, that is going to be us done for today, Travis. So a huge shout out to Ohotnox for producing and Argon for making sure that they could catch all the action. Some beautiful plays were being called by that observer, that wonderful man. Travi, it's been an absolute pleasure for yourself. We are going to be shooting off for tonight. So if you're watching this, make sure you're around tomorrow. You do not want to miss it.